I want to get your reaction to this interview, and specifically the fact that CEO Matt Levatich multiple times while I spoke to him used the term durable when he was talking about tariffs and the tariff landscape on a global basis. As somebody who has many decades in the auto manufacturing space, are tariffs durable?
Well, I agree with everything he says. We live in an environment where the framework within which we do business is set by the governments of the world. And that tends to change cost and revenue relationships. You analyze the situation and you do what you have to do for the shareholder. By the way, I would point out a historical fact which nobody remembers, but in the 1960s, Harley Davidson imported a lot of bikes from Italy. So it's not the first time that Harley is going to be producing offshore and moving bikes into the United States. But, you know, there's no arguing with anything that he said.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I was sitting down with Levatich, he actually pointed that out. And one of the things that's in their announcement today is the fact that they're going to be striking a partnership, a collaboration with an Asian manufacturer to launch a new bike into the India market. In terms of looking at production, and we'll use it from the Harley lens right now, the fact that they are shifting some of that production overseas, they're opening a new facility in Thailand right now, how much does that speak to the fact that if you are even an American manufacturer, that you have to have a global manufacturing footprint?
Yes, you have to have a global manufacturing footprint. And if you ask President Trump, I'm sure he would tell you exactly the same thing. The problem is when the footprint is not global and not balanced with a certain stable or slightly growing level of production in the U.S., but it's a constant decrease of production in the U.S., an outflow of manufacturing jobs, an outsourcing of more and more parts because of trade inequities or because of government regulations, which is sometimes the cause also. That's when you get worried. I mean, everybody, look at Boeing. A large percentage of every Boeing commercial jet is made out of parts that were made somewhere else, and they're probably assembled in the United States. BMW, a German company, has some of its motorcycles built in India and sold under the BMW brand around the world. So that's normal. But what we haven't had is a stable situation. We've had more and more going out and less at home. And that's what the president's trying to fix. And as you saw in the interview from the CEO of Harley Davidson, he said, basically, we support what President Trump is trying to do, which is to bring about free and fair trade.
Do you think we get there in terms of free and fair trade and seeing tariffs fall off in many of these markets where they've continued to persist?
Well, we don't have free and fair trade in a lot of commodities, and that's why President Trump has been working with the European Commission and looks like he's going to get some concessions, which is fine. But when other countries have extremely high tariffs on U.S. products, or even block certain products to protect their own agriculture or their own industries, and we in the United States say, oh, come on in, we're so rich and powerful, we can be everybody's biggest market. And meanwhile, we're destroying jobs at home. That's the part that doesn't make sense. And this so-called trade war that we're having is designed to correct that. None of the retaliatory tariffs that we're seeing right now, none of that is going to stick. That's all part of a broader negotiating framework.